Let's apply everything that we've discussed on a real asset, and I will be working on this guy. This is a free model as well, so I hope I'm not fringing on some copyright. I got it for free, okay, so it should be good. So yes, a very good example, a lot of things we can talk about, and let's just go through them one by one. The first thing I should probably just say that overall, in general, I should probably use some other similar word here. It's looking good, right? Let's put it this way. There are things in here that I like quite a bit, but there's still quite a lot of things that we can improve. So the silhouette is quite strong. At least this is a good foundation to kind of modify, perhaps, right? The pose, everything is just is working nicely. It might be just the way he holds the sword is just a little bit strange, but fine. It's good, okay? Let's put it this way. There are some really good things about it. Now let's just dissect. The first thing, well, actually, I'm not even sure which would be the first thing if I was to review this. And by the way, I do get to review those things. Well, that's why I'm recording those things, right? I get to see other people work, and then I try to improve it, and at the same time I try to explain how it can be improved. So let's do the same thing with this real asset. So the thing I would probably try, and this guy doesn't have any subdivision level, so it's going to be a bit difficult to fix things up, but it's probably going to work out in the end anyway. So the thing that I would use first probably is going to be the V key, right, to switch between the main colors, and this way I can just observe just the silhouette, and things are looking good. The immediate problem that I see is well, there's just something about the position, or I guess the pose of this guy from the front, or maybe from this angle, somewhere from here, right? Things are quite probably not dynamics, probably not the right word, but let's say that it's not flat, right? There are things going on. From the side view, not so much. And the most obvious thing that comes to me just immediately is this tentacle tail thingy, right? If we go back to some of the things that we talked about, and in particular, let's talk about let's just look at the tree, for example, here, right? Or let's look at one of the pieces by Carlos Huente, like this one. And by looking at those things, we can perhaps do something about the tail. And the thing that I can do about it is just make the curvature better, right? And this might be like a subjective thing, right? Some of you might think, okay, why would I change something like that? This was a choice by the artist who made this, right? So that's how they saw the creature. That's how they saw the design. And I would just say, yes, you might be correct, but I would still push against that argument, because everything here that we see on the character indicates the organic nature of things. The tongue, whatever that thing is it's kind of angular in here, but it makes sense because there are fangs, right? And perhaps they go all the way up to here, right? And then we get the curvy surface, or the curvy mass of the tongue. Here, I don't really see the reason why. I don't see the reason why this tail should be so square looking, right? This I don't understand why this is taking place. If this was a bone, that would be fine. If this was a broken tail, that would be fine as well. But I just don't understand why it should be done in this way. So this would be the first thing that I would just kind of address, right? And at the same time, I would just move things around, and I would just check the silhouette in general, see if I can just push something even more, right? If I can change the direction of the tail just a little bit, so the silhouette is looking more interesting. And as I do that, as I go through the tail, I can maybe change some things in here. Maybe this is just a bit too much in terms of the kind of wobbliness. Maybe what I just want is the end, right? I want it to be bendy, so it's kind of like a snaky looking thing, right? But not necessarily the whole surface of that. Then there's the whole situation where the thickness just becomes thinner right away, somewhere right in here, for no particular reason. If there was a different surface, if there was some kind of indication of I don't know, some kind of muscle changing, that would be fine, but I don't really see that. So in that sense, or in that case, in this case, I want a better transition, right? I want to have a more of a gradient in here when it comes to just the flow of the width, right? And yeah, just a very simple, very basic observation, something that again can be examined and can be brought back to the conversations we had when we looked at trees and we looked at Carlos Huente. But that's the simplest thing, right? That's the kind of the basic one. The other thing that I would do, and now that I mentioned the tongue, I would just examine that, and let's examine it all together. So, like I said, there are some things that are good about it, but in general, it's just not working, because there are, even though there are some forms in here, right, they don't really blend that well. They don't really create any harmony, because the things here just as chaotic, or they just don't really connect anywhere. They almost positioned individually. So this part, for example, the one that sticks out quite a bit, doesn't really go anywhere, right? It just stops somewhere here, it begins somewhere there, and that's kind of it. The same goes for this piece. So it's a bigger piece, it goes, and then it just stops. Same for this thing, just goes and stops. Well, that's a better example, actually. Not example, but that's a better execution. We can actually play with that, but there's just something about it, right? Just too many of those things that they don't really connect that well. Again, if we go back to Carlos and just examine some of his stuff, let's examine this one, right? Let's look at the things, the way they go, the way they flow, right? So things don't I mean, they definitely stop, but they don't stop abruptly. They don't just curve in some strange way and then disappear. Everything here is just nice and tight and beautiful. And let's try and do the same thing on this guy as well. And we can even examine this through our flat sketch, right? We can see this the whole situation just a little bit better. So what I would do here, I would just first I would just smooth it out completely, right? I want to see what the forms are. I don't want to see the details, because the details, well, it's just noise. To me, that's just a noisy surface, right? It doesn't really make sense as details. So that would be the surface, that would be the forms, right? And like I said, plenty of good things in here, but plenty of things to be improved. So I'm going to do something about this whole situation in here, because I don't really understand what is happening. So the most kind of logical thing for me to do is to continue it from top somewhat to bottom. So this way, this whole silhouette, this whole curvature that I see, it doesn't stop somewhere in the middle. It actually just flows right from somewhere up here, goes curving to here, and then it just disappears or fades down there. So this way, to me at least, this curvature, this whole form makes more sense. It just makes just the connection is better. It's just there's just this quote-unquote flow, right? That is just working better. And let's compare. Let's just examine what we've done here. So this is what it looks like now, right? This is what it looks like from this angle as well. And I haven't worked on the other side, but let's keep those angles and just let's have a look. Right, so this is the shape in here. Like I said, it doesn't really do much. It lies somewhere on the side, right, and then just goes underneath of this piece, and that piece doesn't really go anywhere. I can't really tell what it does. So this mass in here, just some kind of a side mass that doesn't really do anything. There's just something off about it, right? So from here, from this angle, if we look, this is just a side muscle or side form, and let's compare that with this one, right? So this is definitely my version is more like a snake, obviously, right? It's just we remove the details, so this is kind of a snaky looking thing, but it's not finished. I'm just trying to show the kind of the flow, right? The way things are moving and going. And then we can continue doing some other things. So this will be fine probably. I'm just gonna refine this this shape. Even this probably going to be fine, even though it doesn't make much sense in terms of the well, the shape itself. I'm gonna switch the material because this is going to be a bit difficult, I think, to work that way. So I am using a lot of smooth brush because I am working just on the forms at the moment. I don't really care about the detail. I want to make sure that everything is as smooth as it can be, and then everything else just would just be added on top. Right, so here we can create another shape, perhaps another form like that. If you enjoy this content or find it useful, please consider supporting me by buying me a cup of coffee via the link in the description. So this one, again, the same thing. It does look like a tendon in some sense, right? It's because it's so straight, it feels like it's yeah, it's a tendon or some a muscle that is being stretched, right? Just the vector, I guess, or just the position of that makes it look this way. The problem with that though is I don't really feel the need for that, even though it might look cool, right? We can just exaggerate that, we can make it look like a tendon. All right, so this would be the mass of the muscle, and that would be the tendon, and just kind of stretching, right? And just pushes somewhere in here. But just I'm not sure if this is if it makes any sense. But at the same time, it even if we keep it this way, this just looks better, right? Before it was something like that, and now we have something like that. So let's just compare, right? Without changing much, just thinking about this, like what can it be, right? And at the same time, or after, just once we understand that this is a muscle, let's just make it look like a muscle, right? Just let's add a little bit of volume to that. Just let's integrate that better into the flesh, and keep the tendon just more accurate and just a little bit tighter as well. So I'm looking from different angles as always. I want to make sure that things are straight, right? If this is the tendon, it means that it's been stretched. It's just a sturdy, kind of ropey element. And so this kind of wobbliness that we currently see here on the edge shouldn't occur, right? It should be all straight line. And for keeping the straight line and removing the kind of wobbliness, there is a brush called Smooth Directional. It's in the hidden brushes at the top, right? So if you go into smooth, there's going to be Smooth Directional. So I use that brush a lot. So this way, when I smooth the tendon, and unfortunately everything is just becoming destroyed, but it tries to maintain the shapes, but smoothes out all the noise. Didn't really work that well here, but that's fine. We can always just recreate what we've had. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. I'm gonna switch back to standard smooth brush. I'm gonna make this muscle just a little bit bigger. I'm gonna see if adding another form in here will improve anything. Might be becoming just a little bit too much, like too many things, like this one, right? I'm not sure if it's working, but let's keep it for now. Okay, so same process for this guy. I'm going to continue it somewhere up to here, perhaps. Make this one, this whole section in here just more voluminous. Smooth it all out. And with the dam standard, I'm going to create the shapes, right? I'm not making details with this brush. I am creating the forms and shapes. And just like with that line discussion, right? If we look to if we switch back to the flat sketch, this is again just working with lines, right? So now it's more clear what we're doing, but without this shader, I was just making detail, right? But it is working with lines. That's why I find that I find it crucial for sculpting. The line work is just crucial. It's everywhere. So here I'm not sure what to do because we do have this tendon looking thing, and at the same time just we have a couple of muscles coming in. So I'm going to try and break them into bits. So that would be one, that would be another, just going somewhere perhaps underneath the tendon, right? Something like that. This line, this deep or dent, cut, or whatever you want to call that, is probably a bit too deep. I'm not sure if I like it, so I'm gonna try and fill it in. Okay, like that. So here we have some details. We can exaggerate those. Here, this is just, to me, feels too, not boxy, but angular. So I'm going to address that. Again, just some line work in here as well. Maybe there's going to be a tendon, another one, a tendon-like element in here. Not sure if it's going to work or not. It seems to be working. Again, because of the nature of the element, right? Because this is some sort of a tendon, I want to make sure that it feels like it's being pulled, right? That it has some mechanics behind it. And I could probably subdivide this and work on this way. It's just that there's no practical geometry in here, right? Everything is just triangle based, which means that it's going to look kind of pixelated and noisy. But for the sake, I guess, of illustration, that's probably still enough. The smooth brush, especially, is not going to be doing the things that it would do if it was a more practically constructed mesh. But this is for printing. I mean, we have this this key thing, right? So this is supposed to be for print, so we don't really need topology when we export something into print production. So I get it. Just making shapes using my favorite brush, Dam Standard. And this is a lot of fun as well. There are some foundation underneath, so I'm not exactly inventing anything in here. I'm just using the foundation to either refine it or create something new. I'm not gonna do it in a very polished way, right? This is all in real time, so I don't want to spend all this, well, my time and yours. I just want to kind of highlight the things that we've discussed and how we can apply them on real life examples. So I would just go back and forth, and I don't like what I've just done here. And this flower looking thing, right? This petal, there's a petal, there's a petal. That's the kind of base. I don't like when elements are being repeated and they stand next to each other. That just make it look artificial to me. So I'm gonna try and fix that up. Perhaps like this. Right, and that's the process. That's just the way I would approach this this asset if I was given that for review, right? Or in this case, if I was just to improve that, showing that what we can improve and how we can improve it, and you will be also the judge of this, whether you think this is better looking or not. I would bet my money that it does look better this way. Okay, so let's compare. I do like comparing things. So let's revert all the way back and append. So two versions. This one I haven't done anything, I guess, on this side, somewhere in here. Fine, everything else is looking like that. So yeah, I would definitely do something about this piece, right? It just stands out, doesn't look natural. So maybe this tendon in here can just connect somewhere here. Maybe we need to do some experiments. And that's the thing. You, like I said, you will be the judge for yourself. And I would argue that my version, the one that I've just made, without putting any detail, is looking more interesting than this, right? Even though this version has a lot of detail, there are things happening in here, some kind of alpha, some kind of texture, right, to sell the idea of organic, but it doesn't really sell it that way, that well. It is organic, and it's kind of rotten, and that's probably that was the goal, because the whole character is just some kind of rotten demon, right? But the underlying model doesn't look like organic. I mean, it looks more like some kind of rubber or something like that, right? This is more organic looking, in my opinion. I think this is more. Is this looking more like flesh? And then we can add, on top of that, we can add this alpha, right? We can add this rotten looking thing. And another effect we can try here is that inflate technique, right? Maybe not that much, just 0.5. Just make it a little bit more organic as well. So that's cool. That's the first thing I would do in cases like that, right? Let's just compare what it looks like with the whole model. Yeah, this definitely stands out as some kind of something not organic exactly. It looks like some kind of machine, a piece of machinery of some sort. But let's see if we can fix it up real quick. Just becomes a bit annoying. Line work again, looking from different angles. Okay, so still not happy, but I think it's better looking than what we had before. Like that. Okay, cool. So that would be the tongue. Those are two pieces done, and we can also do the same thing with the tail, right? Just the same exact treatment that we've just done to the tongue, because it is noisy. There is detail in here, and this detail as well, and look just how inconsistent that is, right? It's here somewhere. The width of those scales is different, right? So this is tiny in terms of width. This is what I'm talking about, right? This width, this is smaller than this one is different, this one is completely different, and etc. We don't really see that in nature, right? If we see some kind of scales, they don't really do that. They have a more structured way, whether it's a snake scale, whether it's a fish scale, anything of some kind of a pattern. It just doesn't have this random look that we see here, right? So I would just eliminate all of that and go back to basics, and I would just do the same thing that I've done to the tongue and continue.